Good morning, all. As you know, I'm Presley Pantene, owner of Penelope Pit Stop. We are here today to negotiate a new collective agreement for the business. I would like to start off by saying I appreciate all the hard work from all our employees and managers, and this meeting will be held in good faith to ensure that all our employees are safe, healthy, and happy while at work. And the business is continuing to thrive going forward. On the agenda for today, this meeting, we have a lot to discuss. Hours, penalties, overtime, breaks, first aid allowance, and changes to roster. I will now get you all to introduce yourselves and your role.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Capital, and I'm here representing the Victoria Chamber of Commerce in support of Presley Pantene and Penelope Pitstop.
Thanks, everyone. I am Lane League as a representative of the Hairstylists Australian Union. My role is to ensure that our members' conditions and entitlements are protected. We're here to negotiate in good faith, but our priority is safety, fairness, and wages that reflect the work that our members do.
Thanks for that. Hi, everyone. I'm Galen from the Sydney Salon. I really value Presley's vision and what they've built, but I also want to make sure that our voices as staff are heard. My role is to share the day-to-day reality on the ground, things like fatigue, roster stress, and recognition for extra responsibilities. For me, the key is finding a balance where employees feel both supported and that the business continues to thrive.
Amazing. Let's now move on to our first discussion of the day, penalties, hours, and overtime. I've been in contact with many managers of our stores and they have discussed the desire to open up the store at 5 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. With the current rates, I'm unable to do this and turn a profit for these hours. I would like to propose a solution to this matter and hear what everyone has to say. I propose that the new starting hours are at 5 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. to allow for us to attract the customers on their way to work at that time. With this, I proposed that the average hourly rate is increased a dollar an hour, sorry, and that we abolish the rates from 5 to 7 a.m. This will allow us to be open at this time and turn a profit. If this rate change is not what staff members are after, I propose that 3% of my ownership will be divided up between all staff members for the next few years in a way to keep staff motivated to the success of the business going forward. I would love to hear from all of you of what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, we understand the intention of maximizing profits within the business, but we need to understand that penalty rates aren't just a bonus, they're compensation for working unsociable hours. An hourly increase of only $1 would be near insulting for the employees. And essentially taking away penalty rates would increase the risk of higher employee turnover and more financial pressure on the employees. If 5 a.m. openings are going ahead, those penalty rates must obviously stay in place. We could look at a compromise. I'd suggest maybe we keep the early morning penalties, but have a chat about equity or other benefits alongside that.
Thanks for that, Presley, and thanks for that, Lane, as well. I support keeping penalty rates from 5 a.m. start. From an employee's point of view, those hours are disruptive, with sleep, family life, and even transport. A dollar increase doesn't offset that impact of abolishing them all up. However, ownership is exciting, and it could motivate us long term, but I don't think it's able to replace regular wages we rely on from week to week. I'd be open to hearing how equity could complement penalties, but the penalties themselves are important to protect fairness and keep us as staff engaged.
Okay, maybe the abolishment was a bit of a stretch, and I apologize for that. I am prepared to up my original offer of abolishing the penalty rates to reduce them to time and a half during the week. And along with that, the dollar an hour pay. Uh, how does that sound?
Okay, so Presley has proposed a $1 increase on your employees' base rate, and you have declined. So we're thinking about another option, which involves upping the employee ownership scheme to 5% instead of 3. As Lane described, the $1 increase as insulting. I think giving this as an alternative option can see us come to an agreement. I want to stress that employees may select either deal one, the penalty adjustment plus the $1 increase, or deal two, the ownership scheme, but not both. Presley is already being very generous by placing two significant offers on the table.
Thank you, obviously, for your offers. I'm sure we'll come to an agreement here. As Galen has mentioned, ownership is quite an exciting thing. Having equity in the company that you work for. We believe this would be likely an appropriate outcome. What would be the best option to have our members secure? Possibly 5% ownership over at least the next 3 years. Would you guys approve of
Casey,
that?
what are your
Or
thoughts?
Yeah, we can reduce the penalty rates to 1.5 plus pay and offer 5% ownership if that works with you.
Yeah,
Galen,
yeah, I'd be happy to accept that. That sounds reasonable.
I think
Happy with that.
as a staff member, that would be more than suitable, and you know encourage um, encourage them to come to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. That's all we're after. Glad that we've sorted that matter out. Moving on, the health and well-being of all my staff and employees is the most important thing to me. I understand how taxing this job can be, and the long hours standing blow waving hair is very hard. Now, I hear that we have some issues with the break situation that we currently have. Happy to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, look, just to be honest with you, Presley, I'm going to be very transparent. As staff, we are often very exhausted. Back-to-back blow waves can cause some real strain. Even short jobs add up. I believe 10 minutes after each client would help prevent injury and improve performance. Um, if it feels unrealistic operationally, I'd still want some guaranteed recovery time, maybe a short pause after each job, um, and maybe a longer scheduled break just to reset. The aim isn't to cut or reduce productivity in any level. It's mainly just to keep us healthy enough to keep working at our best and avoid injury claims, which act as a benefit for you as we're saving time and cost as well.
Okay. Thanks, Galen. I'm just going to throw a stat out. Work cover claims are costing the business $15,000 a year. So that is obviously a lot of money to just be spending on breaks and especially after 10 minutes that you guys want. So Presley and I propose a 5-minute paid breaks after clients with long hair. But for short hair, no additional breaks are needed just because, yeah, just yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm with Galen on this one. Um, Repetitive strain injuries are no joke. They are quite serious, and we need to, take a look at the occupational health and safety aspect of this. Um, Firstly, we do need to define what is considered as long hair. Um, what if we look at a compromise, say 10-minute pause after each client, and despite the length of the hair, and a proper 30-minute break after every 4 clients. That way we protect health, and in the long run, cut down on injury claims too, which will benefit obviously the company.
Yeah, I cannot be giving out 10-minute breaks after each customer. Like, there is no way that productivity stays high and customers are satisfied if everyone's taking a break every customer, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, after you.
Um, well, whereas I do appreciate where you're coming from with the injury strains and or strain injuries, but I do have to agree with Presley on this. It'd be brainless to allow 10-minute breaks after each customer. The production would decline immensely, and we'll have customers waiting for prolonged amounts of time, which will obviously dissatisfy them. I also think a 10-minute break after each customer with long hair is a sensible option, not just for the benefit of the business, but both the workers and the customers. So as for what long hair is, I think anything below the shoulders of a customer is appropriate to be classified long hair. This ensures that it is equal among customers and it's easy to identify. But that's just where I'm standing, and probably Presley as well. But
Yeah.
does anyone have
Great.
any other suggestions?
Well, Galen, I suppose you're you're there, you're on the floor, you'd be able to have the best sense of, I suppose, what long hair is. Do you agree with Casey's statement of what long hair is considered as?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Okay, that's good. Well, understandably, we don't believe customers should be having to wait longer than what is necessary. Could we agree that permitting there is, no customer waiting following the short haircut, or just despite any length, the employee is entitled to at least a 5-minute break just to recoup themselves, to ensure they can obviously provide their best efforts to the business and their clients, and obviously the 10-minute break after the long haircut.
Yeah, I'm happy to agree.
I think
Um,
we're all happy with that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
there's no customers waiting.
beautiful. Good to hear.
Lovely. Next issue we got up is the first aid allowance. I was shocked to hear the other week that a client had a heart attack and none of our staff members had any way of helping them because they had no training. Managers have discussed to me that the agreed upon 1.3% salary allowance is not enough for them to undertake the first aid training. Could we possibly discuss what everyone's thoughts are on this issue?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Presley. So at the store I'm at in Sydney, I believe only one of my colleagues knows first aid, and we definitely think that is an issue. However, I would be happy to take on first aid training as many of my colleagues would. We're all on the same page about that one. But the current 1.3% salary allowance just simply won't cut it. The pressure and responsibility it adds just isn't worth the extra salary. If the business wants us to know first aid, it has to make it worth our while.
Um, yeah, well said, Galen. Look, it's never pleasant hearing something like that. Our best wishes are with that employee. With regards to first aid and its allowance, we'd like to see, at least 25% of staff properly trained. That's 1 in 4. That should be 100% of the time, at least one person in the store that is first aid trained at all times. If we could reach that, I'd honestly be okay with the 1.3 allowance, because at the end of the day, it's a large issue.
Thank you. So currently, as Presley said, the first aid allowance is set at 1.3. While I think Presley and I obviously believe this is fair, Presley did say she's prepared to increase the allowance to 1.7% to show commitment to staff wellbeing. Additionally, we have instilled that providing first aid qualification is a requirement for all managers and senior staff, embedding that responsibility into leadership roles. This will guarantee that every salon has qualified first aid support available at all times. On top of that, Galen also expressed a desire to hold a valid first aid qualification. So we can set up a way for a first aid course to be available to not only just employees, but managers and senior staff within the job. This will be a mandatory qualification that will need to be completed to work. Presley and I have spoken to great extent as to why this would benefit not only the employees, but also customers, to prevent such events like what happened to that client a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well said, Casey. Just to be completely honest here, though, I need to set some clear boundaries from the start. Look, I'm not going to be seen participating in or committing time or my effort to any kind of formal first aid training, um, unless there is an allowance of at least 2%, because I think anything else less than that simply doesn't reflect the value of the time, the level of responsibility, and the level of effort involved, and I'm not prepared to lower that standard, to be frank with you.
I think 2% is more than fair, and I'd be happy to go up to 2% if everyone else is agreeing
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
especially if it
Absolutely.
prevents an event like what happened a couple of weeks ago. I think
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all we're
exactly
after.
right. Yeah, yeah, we'd be happy with that.
Alrighty. Last item we have to discuss is the issue regarding shifts. Managers have come to me with the issue regarding what an emergency is classified as. Could we work together possibly to put it in writing as to what an emergency is? Also, managers have an issue with direct messages with employees in order to get shifts covered. Just last week, we had an issue at the Flinders Lane store, which resulted in multiple negative comments online because someone didn't rock up to work. Uh, could we possibly discuss what ways people like the employees could get their shifts covered or the managers can get their shifts covered and like maybe put it in writing or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think from the get-go, we need to agree that emergencies need to be clearly defined so there's no confusion between the manager and staff. From the management's perspective, I think an emergency should mean something truly urgent and unexpected, not ongoing care arrangements or things like that. Um, we also believe that any verbal arrangements should be confirmed in writing, so electronic messaging, emails, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, the goal is here to just have a consistent process that managers can follow without risking mistakes or reputational damage.
Yeah, so look, I do agree that emergencies need to be clearly defined. For me, it's more something sudden and unexpected, like an accident, serious injury, not ongoing issues like childcare or pets. I don't think that falls under the umbrella of an emergency. I think that's in a category of its own. Um, I also believe that roster changes should not always be put, oh, sorry, should always be put in writing. Definitely. A quick text or a small email is fine. As long as it's a record that avoids misunderstandings, puts everyone on the same page. And from the staff perspective, it would help if we had a transparent system for filing shifts instead of managers contacting individuals at random. Um, that way, it just feels more fair and less stressful. And managers aren't left scrambling, and it leaves the connection between staff and the higher up managers to be more transparent. So we're all on the same page and minimizes confusion, as I addressed before.
Yeah. Look, I agree with both your points. We do need a fair definition of emergencies so staff know where they stand and managers have clear guidance. I believe Galen has, provided something very reasonable just then. But it also comes back to process. Verbal agreements should always be backed up in writing to avoid disputes. A centralized system for covering shifts, could be considered and, has the potential to work better than unexpected text messages. So if that's something you guys consider, let us know. That way, all staff can at least see the availability. It's transparent and it reduces the risk of reputational damages, like we saw at the Flinders Lane store. This approach will, protect both employees and the business, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that system that you guys are talking about. We can put that in effect as soon as possible and would love to get that started. I'm happy with the staff and managers texting or email getting shifts covered for now, but I would love if the store managers or the manager on duty to be added to that text or email just so they know what's going on as well. Um, yeah. I'm also glad that we discussed the emergencies, what's classified as one, and can keep that going on into the future.
Galen,
Absolutely.
I suppose you're the one on the floor. In the scenario that you had to, obviously call in for an emergency, or are you happy to send a text to your manager? Do you feel like that message is received? Do you feel like you've been missed? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely feel that my voice has been heard. So first of all, thank you for that. I do think that sending a quick text or an email is the most viable option. It's timely, doesn't cost anything. It puts everyone on the same page efficiently and quickly. So yeah, I definitely think that's the way to go.
Yeah, well said. And I think especially with the staff having 5% ownership in the company now, it's they're held responsible. So I think there'll be you know greater coverage across shifts if there is an emergency. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm very glad that we've had this discussion today, and yeah, look forward to keeping this business thriving into the future. And I'm just glad that my employees are happy and happy to rock up to work, basically. Yeah, happy that.
shall we just summarize kind of everything that we've agreed on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Casey, you want to go through that?
So just to get it straight, pay and a half at 5% ownership for 3 years. Does that over the 3 years? Does that sound all right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Happy with that, yeah.
Um, 5 minute break after the short haircut when there are no customers available to cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a 10 minute haircut after long hair, which is classified below the shoulders. I'm pretty sure.
So was
That
that a
sound
10
good?
minute break after every long?
After
Yeah,
long
yeah,
haircuts.
After
yeah,
long
perfect.
hair,
Yeah.
Yeah. For first aid, 2% allowance for the training.
Yeah.
So you can undertake and get a qualification.
yeah,
And then for the emergencies, just clearly define emergencies, text messages or emails, which are acceptable
yeah.
to cover shifts and let managers know. Does that sound good?
that sounds
Sounds
yeah,
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
perfect,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, again, just want to thank everyone for rocking up today and discussing in good faith. I'm confident that the plans we've put forward today are going to lead the business into the future in a great way. So, yeah, thank you all.
Thank you very much, Presley. From an employer perspective, I'm pleased that we've identified the solutions that balance financial stability and employee well-being. These conversations aren't easy, but by clarifying expectations and processes, we're setting up a stronger foundation for the business moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Thanks, Presley. As a union representative, I'm encouraged by the dialogue we've had today. We've stood firm on, protecting fair conditions for staff. Thank you, Galen, for all your inputs and all that. While also finding areas where compromises are possible. I feel like we all work together today very well. What matters most is that the agreement reflects both fairness and respect, and I really believe we're moving in that direction.
Thank you, Lane. Well said. Same goes for you, Casey and Presley. Um, Look, as an employee, I really value having my voice heard in this process. I think it's really good. These discussions about penalties, breaks, allowances, and rosters all directly affect us on the ground as employees, as you're all aware. Um, and now I definitely do feel more confident, knowing our concerns are being recognised and that we're looking toward a fairer, safer workplace. And I'm sure that if we keep this approach, I think the staff and the business will definitely benefit for the long term.
Beautiful.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much for rocking up and all the hard work you've put into this discussion today, and look forward to speaking to you all in the future.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Good
Thanks,
luck.
Presley.
you.